Emily, it's Annette with the Art of Intuition, and today we're going to talk about channeling. Everybody wants to know, where does channeling fit into higher states of consciousness? Should I be channeling other things? Should I be channeling other people? So first we're going to talk about the history of channeling, and then we're going to talk about what channeling is. So remember, ancient Greece, ancient Egypt, a lot of the Native American cultures always want to tap into higher states of consciousness. So they would go into what they would call channeling other states of consciousness. Now, in the United States, a lot of this didn't come in for us until about the 1850s, where you started seeing a lot of what they would call physical mediums. So the physical mediums would work with the rapping on the table, they'd have the seance circle, they would have a lamp levitating off the table, they would have people levitating off the tables, things were moving around, and that was really to get our attention. Because in the 1850s, we were open, but we were still really into, things weren't as easy as they are today. And, we have it so much easier than they did back in the 1850s. So things needed to grab our attention more. So things were a little more theatrical, right? It was a lot more theatricals going on. So in 1862, there was a famous, what they would call a trans medium at the time. And trans medium basically is defined as, basically you leave the body, something else comes in and talks through you. That's what trans medium, trans channeling, if you see that, that's what that is. In 1862, there was a trans medium, very famous at that time, called Nettie Colburn, and she would go in and talk with Mary Todd Lincoln. Mary Todd Lincoln was into this type of information, so she would go in and talk to her. Well, Abraham Lincoln came in on one of those sessions because he wanted guidance on the Emancipation Proclamation. So for Nettie, she would feel like she was being controlled by the energies that would come in, and we're gonna get to some of the debunking of that stuff in a minute, but for now we're gonna go with that. So basically, one of the messages that Abraham Lincoln got was to not delay the Emancipation Proclamation. It needed to go. There was a lot of political pressure at that time for him to delay it a year and to not push it. But some of the information he got was, you need to push it through, and you would be remembered for that. It was a crowning point of your presidency, and it would be the crowning point of his life. So that was the guidance he got, and that was the guidance he went on. Now, World War I came in, World War II came in, and these things kind of took a side. When you're going for physical survival, as the country was at that time, these things kind of took a back burner, so you didn't see as much of it. It kind of got reinvigorated the last 80 to 100 years, and people started kind of getting more interested in channeling again, and the mediumships, and those shows are now on all the time, and people, you can see just how much people have embraced it more. And that's really why you've seen so many technological advances, so many scientific advances over the years because of channeling, right? Conscious or unconscious. So now let's debunk some of the myths of channeling. You cannot channel anything that is not part of you. It is a different aspect of you. It might be a higher aspect of you, but it's still an aspect of you. You cannot channel something that's not an aspect of you. So let's just debunk all the fear around channeling in that moment. You're only tapping into a different state of consciousness through your own consciousness, right? You cannot tap into something that is not a higher state of consciousness. There are a lot of books out there that are considered channel work. One of them was The Secret by Abraham Hicks. Abraham Hicks does not exist in this physical reality. He was channeled by Esther Hicks, but he was just an entity of her. He was, an energy of her, an aspect of her. So she saw him as outside of her because she didn't embody him in. And we can talk a little bit at the end about embodying the energy in, but she had not embodied him in. I don't know if anyone's read the Seth books. The Seth books were written by Jane Roberts. They are also considered channel material. where Jane Roberts would sit in a chair, and these were a lot of her sessions with Seth, I think were in the 60s and the 70s. She died in the early 80s. She would sit in a chair and Seth would speak through her. And then they would write down everything that he had to say. But she didn't embody the energy, but it was just an aspect of her. So those are great books if no one's read them. They're kind of, the Seth books are very into the psyche of the soul. So they're really great books if anyone is interested. I need to put them on the reading list actually, but anyway, back to channeling. Channeling, remember, you're tapping into higher states of consciousness that are you. It's just you. So you do unconscious channeling all the time. Dreaming is unconscious channeling. Intuitive insights are unconscious channeling. Deja vu is unconscious channeling. You're just tapping into different higher states of consciousness. You can do conscious channeling where you set an intention and maybe set and listen for guidance and listen for those words of wisdom to come through to help you with the next step. And that's more conscious channeling, but you unconsciously channel constantly. So I don't want anyone to be afraid of channeling. I always suggest that if you've never channeled, you should try it. All it does is open you up to different states of awareness and different states and higher states of consciousness to see the information that's available there. It is a great way to open yourself up. So when you start to channel, sometimes you might feel like it's separate from you, but it only feels separate from you because you haven't embodied the energy. So we'll touch on this for a second. When you're embodying in energy, let's say you're embodying in what we would call a creator energy, right? It can have many names, but we're just going to call it for now creator energy. And you're creating your world, which we are. And sometimes we will fragment off from that and it'll feel separate from us. But remember, we're creating our world. So if we really embody creating our world, anywhere where we are not creating our world, where we're giving our power away, where we're not taking control of our surroundings and our matrix, it's going to be amplified for you to deal with it. If you're going to continue to embody that energy. If you don't, you won't be able to embody it for long. You'll hit that state of consciousness and lose it because you're not embodying it. So embodying it is living it every day, and whatever is discordant or a distortion of that will be very clear, and you won't be able to hold that energy. So remember, everybody, channeling is just looking inward. It's all inward. You might feel it as outward. It might feel like something foreign just because you haven't embodied that in yet. Before you go to sleep at night, you can always ask to embody those energies in, because remember, it is just you. You cannot channel anything that is not a higher aspect of you or an aspect of you. Okay, everybody, have fun channeling. It is something I suggest you do if you've never done it before. Enjoy tapping into your higher states of consciousness and keep practicing the art of intuition.